2 weeks ago, my father stood in front of 50 people, raised a glass of champagne, and wished I didn't exist. Not exactly those words, but close enough. He didn't look at me. He looked at my younger sister. And then he said, "I wish it was you holding that diploma tonight. You're the only child who has ever truly made me proud." People laughed. Some even clapped. My mother nodded like it was completely normal. And me? I was sitting 10 tables away, at my own graduation party. No one stopped him. No one corrected him. No one even turned around to see my reaction. So I stood up quietly and walked out. No one noticed. But what happened after that? That's the part they didn't see coming. My name is Madison Torres. I'm 22 years old. And in my family, success only counts if it wears a suit and argues in court. My father is a senior partner at a powerful law firm. My mother comes from a long line of attorneys. And my younger sister, Olivia. She's their golden future. Harvard-bound, polished, perfect. And me? I chose nursing. That was my first mistake. I still remember the day I told them. I was excited, nervous, hopeful. "I got into the nursing program," I said. My father didn't smile. Didn't congratulate me. He just stared like I'd said something embarrassing. "Nursing?" he repeated slowly. "You want to spend your life taking orders from doctors?" My mother sighed. "You're the first in this family to break tradition." I tried explaining that I wanted to help people, that I wanted to be there when it actually mattered. They didn't care. From that moment on, I stopped being part of their vision. Over the next 4 years, I worked harder than I ever had in my life. Top of my class. Double shifts to pay tuition. Awards, recognition, recommendations. And still, nothing. No calls asking how I was doing. No visits. No pride. Just silence. Unless it was about Olivia. There was always time for Olivia. Her grades. Her internships. Her future. Meanwhile, I became invisible. Not ignored completely. Just acknowledged enough to exist, but never enough to matter. Except to one person. My grandmother. She called every Sunday. Remembered every exam. Every clinical. Every small win. She saw me. And I didn't realize it then. But she was the only reason everything was about to change. 2 months before graduation, I got an email from my mom. No greeting. No warmth. Just logistics. Your graduation event will be held Saturday at 7 p.m. Your father has finalized the guest list. That was it. No, congratulations. No, we're proud of you. I opened the guest list attachment. 53 names. I recognized maybe 10. The rest? My father's colleagues. Business partners. Even my sister's friends. But mine? Not a single one. Not my mentor. Not my classmates. Not even the people who helped me survive those 4 years. I called my mom immediately. "Can I invite a few people?" I asked. There was a pause. Then she said something I'll never forget. Your friends wouldn't fit the atmosphere. I didn't respond. I just hung up. Because in that moment, I understood something clearly. This wasn't my celebration. I was just the excuse for it. That night, I looked at the invitation. Gold lettering. Elegant. Impressive. And completely impersonal. It didn't say my name. It didn't say graduation. It said, celebrating the Torres family. That's when it hit me. I wasn't the focus. I was the backdrop. And something inside me started to shift. Later that night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. But something made me listen to the voicemail. Hello, this is Presbyterian Memorial Hospital. We'd like to speak with you regarding an opportunity. I froze. Presbyterian Memorial. The most competitive hospital in the state. People didn't just get calls from them. I called back immediately. Closed. Of course. So I waited. All night. No sleep. Just questions. The next morning, I called my grandmother. Told her everything. The party. The guest list. The way I felt like a stranger in my own life. She listened quietly. Then she asked one question. Did your father invite me? I hesitated. I don't know. Her tone changed. I'll be there anyway. And then she said something that stayed with me. Your worth isn't decided by people who refuse to see it. Then, almost casually, she added, I ran into the hospital director last week. We talked about you. That's when everything clicked. 3 days before the party, I visited my parents. Tried one last time. Can we make this actually about my graduation? I asked. My father didn't even look up. This is a family event. Then he said something colder than anything before. We're announcing Olivia's Harvard acceptance that night. I went still. At my graduation party. He nodded. Just don't draw attention to yourself. That was the moment. The exact moment something in me broke. Or maybe finally woke up. Because that night, I opened an email that would change everything. An official offer. From the hospital. A salary higher than first-year lawyers. And one line that made my heart race. We would like to present this publicly at a meaningful event in your life. I stared at the screen. Then I looked at the invitation again. Celebrating the Torres family. And for the first time, I smiled. Because maybe, just maybe, this party was about to become mine. But what I didn't know yet was that my father had already planned the biggest humiliation of my life. And when he finally said those words in front of everyone, I had a choice to make. Stay silent like always, or destroy the illusion they built around me. And trust me, what happened at that party? No one walked out the same. The restaurant looked like something out of a movie. Crystal chandeliers. White linen tables. Soft music playing in the background. Everything polished. Perfect. and completely impersonal. I walked in at exactly 7 p.m. Right on time. Right on script. My father was standing near the entrance, shaking hands with one of his partners, laughing like he always did when he wanted to impress people.
When he saw me,
he didn't smile. Didn't introduce me. Just gave a quick nod and turned back to his conversation. Like I was staff. I walked further inside. My mother was adjusting my sister's dress, emerald green, elegant, expensive.
She barely glanced at me.
You're at table 6, she said. Near the back. Of course I was. The front tables were reserved for important people. I didn't argue. Didn't react. Because for once, I wasn't here to fight for a seat.
I was here for something else.
I sat down and looked around. 50 people. Maybe more. Laughter.
Conversations.
Toasts already starting. No one came to greet me. No one said congratulations.
And above everything, hanging across the wall in gold letters,
celebrating the Torres family. Not my name.
Not my achievement. Just the brand.
I should have felt hurt. But I didn't. Because I already knew how this night would go. Or at least, how they thought it would go. At 7:15, the doors opened again. And suddenly, the energy shifted. My grandmother walked in. Slow. Confident.
Unapologetic.
She didn't need attention. She commanded it. My father stepped forward immediately. I don't remember inviting you, he said under his breath. She smiled. I don't remember needing one.
And just like that,
she walked past him. The tension in the room was immediate. People noticed. Watched. Whispered.
My grandmother came straight to me.
There's my girl, she said, hugging me tightly. And for the first time that night, I felt seen. I have something planned, I whispered. She pulled back slightly. So do I. I frowned. But before I could ask anything, the announcement began. Dinner ended quickly. Too quickly. Because this wasn't about celebration. It was about positioning. My father stood up. Tapped his glass. The room fell silent.
He knew how to control a room.
Always had. Thank you all for being here tonight, he began. Smooth. Confident. Practiced. We're here to celebrate our family. I noticed something immediately. He didn't say my name. Not once. He continued talking about legacy.
Tradition.
Success. Then, he turned toward Olivia. My youngest daughter has just been accepted into Harvard Law. Applause exploded across the room. Loud. Excited. Genuine. I stayed still. Hands folded. Watching. Waiting. Because I knew he wasn't done. Then it came. The moment. The sentence. The one that changed everything. I truly wish, he paused, letting the room lean in, that Olivia was the one holding the diploma tonight. A few people laughed awkwardly. Some clapped again. My mother nodded proudly. And then he finished it. She is the only child who has ever truly made me proud. Something inside me went completely still. Not broken. Not hurt. Just quiet. Because when something happens too many times, it stops hurting. It just becomes truth. At least their version of it. No one defended me. No one objected. A few people avoided eye contact. Others pretended nothing happened. And Olivia? She smiled. But it didn't reach her eyes. Not this time. I slowly stood up. No drama. No scene. Just stood there. And that's when my grandmother's voice cut through the room. Sharp. Clear.
Unignorable. I think you forgot something, Richard.
Silence. Every head turned. My father's smile tightened. Now isn't the time. This is exactly the time, she said.
And just like that,
the room shifted. The control he had? Gone. You just gave a speech at your daughter's graduation, she continued. And somehow, you didn't mention her once. Murmurs. Low. Uneasy.
uncomfortable.
My father's tone hardened. This is a family matter. No, she said calmly.
You made it public.
I felt it. The moment.
The shift in power.
For the first time in my life, someone was standing up for me. And not quietly. Not behind closed doors. But right there. In front of everyone. Then something unexpected happened. The doors opened again. But this time, no one was prepared.
A man walked in.
Confident. Professional.
Direkt.
Holding a formal envelope. He didn't look at my father. Didn't hesitate. He walked straight toward me. Miss Madison Torres? He asked. My heart started pounding. Yes. He smiled. I'm Dr. Webb from Presbyterian Memorial Hospital. The room went completely silent. And suddenly, every single person who ignored me earlier was looking at me now. But what happened next didn't just shock the room. It shattered everything my father believed about me in less than 60 seconds. And trust me, after what Dr. Webb said out loud that night, my father never looked at me the same way again. The entire room froze. 50 conversations died in a single second.
My father blinked, confused.
Who are you? He asked, irritation slipping through his polished tone. But the man didn't even look at him. His attention stayed on me. I'm Dr. Samuel Webb, he said calmly. Director of Recruitment at Presbyterian Memorial Hospital. You could feel the shift instantly. People straightened. Listened. Watched more carefully. Because that name? It carried weight. He stepped closer and handed me a sealed envelope. May I? He asked. I nodded, barely able to breathe. But instead of giving it privately, he turned toward the room. And if you don't mind, he continued, I'd like to say a few words. No one objected. Not even my father. Because suddenly, he wasn't the most important person in the room anymore. Madison Torres, Dr. Webb began, graduated at the top of her class in nursing. A ripple of surprise moved through the crowd.
Note polite interest. Real surprise.
Because most of them had no idea. She achieved the highest clinical evaluation scores we've seen in over a decade, he continued.
I saw heads turning now.
Looking at me differently. Actually seeing me. For the first time. Then he held up the letter. Presbyterian Memorial Hospital is honored to offer her a position in our emergency department.
Pause.
With a starting salary of $78,000. Gasps. Actual gasps. Someone near the front whispered. That's more than... Yes, Dr. Webb said smoothly. More than many first-year attorneys. And then... He glanced, just briefly, at my father.
Silence.
Heavy. Unavoidable. My father's face drained of color. My mother sat down slowly, like her legs couldn't hold her anymore. And Olivia? She was staring at me like she didn't recognize me. Dr. Webb wasn't done. There's something else, he said. He pulled out another letter. This is from the Dean of Nursing. He unfolded it carefully, then read it out loud. Madison Torres is among the top 1% of nursing graduates nationwide. The room reacted again. But this time, it wasn't shock. It was admiration. She has demonstrated exceptional leadership, clinical excellence, and compassion beyond expectation. I swallowed hard. Because hearing it out loud, in front of everyone, felt surreal. When he finished, applause broke out. Not forced. Not polite.
Real.
Loud. And for a moment, I just stood there.
Letting it happen.
Letting them see me. Then my grandmother stepped forward. And that's when everything turned from impressive to undeniable. I'd like to clarify something, she said. Her voice was calm. Controlled. Powerful. I was the one who recommended Madison. More murmurs. I spent 40 years as a nurse, she continued. Building relationships in this field. She looked directly at my father. The same profession you once called serving doctors.
You could hear the tension snap.
And yet, she added softly, it seems that servant just outperformed everything you value. That one line destroyed him. Completely. Now people weren't just watching. They were judging.
Whispering. Re-evaluating. And my father?
He had nothing to say. I looked around the room. At the same people who ignored me earlier. Now smiling. Nodding.
Respecting me.
It should have felt good. But it didn't. Because respect that only shows up when you're proven valuable isn't real. So I took a step forward. And for the first time, I spoke. Not as the quiet daughter. Not as the overlooked one. But as myself. Thank you, Dr. Webb, I said. Then I turned to my grandmother. Thank you for believing in me. My voice didn't shake. Not even a little. Then I looked at my parents. I spent 4 years trying to prove I was enough for this family. The room went still again. I worked harder than I ever had. I gave everything I had. I paused. But tonight, I realized something. I took a breath.
I don't need your approval anymore.
My father stepped forward quickly.
Madison, you're misunderstanding.
No, I said calmly. I understand perfectly. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. You planned this night to celebrate someone else. I gestured around the room.
At my graduation.
No one spoke.
No one interrupted.
You wished I didn't earn what I did, I continued. And now that I have, I held up the offer letter. You don't get to take credit for it. That hit harder than anything else. Because it was true. And everyone knew it. I'm not angry, I said quietly. And I meant it. I'm just done. But here's the part no one expects. What happened after I said those words? Didn't just change my relationship with my parents. It changed my entire family. Because someone else stood up next. And what they said? Made things even worse.
The silence after my words felt heavier than anything before.
No music. No chatter. Just 50 people. Watching. Waiting. And then someone stood up. It wasn't my mother. It wasn't my father. It was one of my father's senior partners. Richard, he said quietly. I think your daughter deserves an apology.
You could feel the air shift again.
Because this time, it wasn't family speaking. It was reputation. And that mattered more to my father than anything. My father forced a laugh. This is being blown out of proportion, he said.
Just a misunderstanding.
No one agreed. No one backed him up. In fact, a few people shook their heads. Another partner spoke up. You wished your other daughter had her achievement in front of all of us. There was no defending that.
No spinning it.
No fixing it. My mother finally stood. Let's handle this privately, she said quickly. But my grandmother didn't let her. No, she said firmly. You've kept things quiet for too long.
And just like that,
the truth stayed exactly where it belonged.
Out in the open.
I looked at my father. Really looked at him. For the first time in my life, he didn't look powerful. He looked uncertain. Like he didn't know how to fix this. Because this wasn't a courtroom. There was no argument he could win.
I don't know what you want me to say, he muttered.
And that's when I realized something important. He wasn't sorry. He was uncomfortable. There's a difference. That's fine, I said calmly. I'm not asking for anything. And I wasn't. Not anymore. One by one, people started leaving. Quietly. Politely. But the energy had changed. They weren't leaving a celebration. They were leaving a collapse. Some stopped to shake my hand. to congratulate me, to acknowledge what they had ignored earlier. And every time it happened, it felt strange. Because respect that comes late always feels a little hollow. Then one of my father's partners handed me his card. "If you ever need anything," he said, "don't hesitate." I nodded. But my attention shifted elsewhere. Because across the room, Olivia was walking toward me. Slowly, carefully. She stopped in front of me. For once, she didn't look confident. She looked unsure. "Are you okay?" she asked quietly. I almost laughed. But I didn't. "Are you?" I replied. She hesitated. I didn't know it was this bad. I studied her face. And for the first time, I believed her. Because she hadn't created the system. She had just grown up benefiting from it. "I thought you didn't care," she admitted. "That you liked staying out of the spotlight." I shook my head. I just learned I'd never be allowed in it. That landed hard. "I'm sorry," she said. Not for our parents. For herself. For not seeing it. And something shifted in me. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But something lighter. Less heavy than before. "You don't need to fix it," I told her. "But if you want a relationship with me..." I paused. "Start by seeing me. Not comparing. Not competing. Just seeing." She nodded. "I want that." And for the first time in years, that felt real. That night ended quietly. But the consequences, they didn't. Over the next few days, things started changing. My father's colleagues talked. Not quietly. Not privately. His reputation? It didn't collapse. But it cracked. And for someone like him, that mattered. A lot. Clients started asking questions. Partners started watching him differently. The image he built for decades was no longer perfect. My mother called once. Tried to smooth things over. Tried to shift the narrative. I didn't let her. For the first time in my life, I didn't fix it for them. Because that was the biggest change. I stopped protecting people who never protected me. A few weeks later, I started my job. First day. New badge. My name. My title. Earned. Not given. And when I walked into that hospital, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel invisible. I felt exactly where I was supposed to be. 3 months later, my life looked completely different. I had a career I loved. People who respected me. A space that finally felt like mine. My grandmother still called every week. Still reminded me who I was. Not who I was told to be. Olivia kept reaching out. Slowly. Carefully. Trying. And that mattered. My father? He never apologized. Not once. But I stopped needing it. Because closure doesn't always come from them. Sometimes it comes from you choosing to move on. And that's what I did. I didn't win against my family that night. I didn't defeat anyone. I didn't prove anything to them. I just stopped losing myself. And sometimes that's the biggest victory you'll ever get.
So let me ask you. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family?
Like no matter what you did, it was never enough? Comment below with, I understand if this hit you. And tell me, would you have stayed silent? Or done exactly what I did? Because stories like this, they're not just stories. They're real. And sometimes, they're exactly what someone out there needs to hear.